Hello and welcome to another episode of the Doug Geiser Show, brought to you by the Ashland University Journalism and Digital Media Department. I'm Cade Krackus, and as usual, I'm joined by the head coach of the Eagle football team, Doug Geiser. Coach, this past weekend your team was able to pull off a 20-6 victory over Ohio Dominican. So let's open things up with your thoughts about the contest.
Winning down there is proven to be a struggle through the years. They're a good, proud program. They play physical, play things the right way, and so when you go down there, they're not going to hand you the game. You got to go in there and physically take it from them. And so I thought our guys played inspired. Right from the very first kickoff, our guys are screaming down there. Defense shuts them down, and we go out and get a field goal on that first drive. So we put points together in all three phases. That was a good thing. We carried over the whole game.
And then coming off of a loss to Tiffin, and that was a fairly big loss. How important was it to get this win on the board, and especially moving into a home contest next?
It was really important to get back on beam with that, and you never want to carry over a game. We always challenge the guys to flip the script and turn the page on that, so to speak. And they did a nice job of doing that and refocusing on ODU, and it paid off.
An interesting thing I noticed this weekend against Ohio Dominican was the use of towels on the sideline. So do you want to talk a little bit about what those were used for?
When we signal in, they have a guy on their staff that's a former Ashland Eagle. Garrett Turnbaugh is an assistant coach for him, played wide receiver for us. He was a tremendous player. He's a coach on their staff. Obviously, he would know some of our signals when we're going to signal in. So to obscure his view, we would put the towels up on both sides of whoever was signaling in and hopefully not get him stealing signals.
Wideout Desmond Lyde-Burris continues to shine. This week he appeared on the board with 9 catches and a kickoff return 90 yards to the house. So, I mean, he's been phenomenal as of late.
He has been a tremendous, it seems like we're talking about him every single week. He puts his impact on the game, whether it's offensively or special teams, and he's even starting to take a little more of a vocal role with the team, which is tremendous. He's a graduate transfer, he's an older guy, experienced guy. He understands how to play at a high level coming from Ferris State, and so he has been a godsend to us.
And on the other side of the ball, Jackson Myers, that leader of the defense, it feels like. I mean, week in and week out, he's shown up. So how important has his play been through these past 5 games?
Really important, especially coming off the Tiffin game, is helping us get back on beam, and just him being a rock, being a stable portion of that, continuing to make plays within the scheme as well. It's nice to have that guy who's not only a vocal leader, he's really stepped up in that regard, but his play, he's been probably the top defensive guy in the league for the first 5 games.
And we talked about kicker A.J. Rhodes last week and his impressive play, but this week, once again, in the first half, he shined, knocking through 2 field goals, and those are the only points scored in the first half. So how important was his play and his consistency to being able to keep momentum heading into halftime?
It was huge for us. Being able to end drives with some kind of points is always important, whether it's a field goal, whether it's a touchdown. And so he is growing in his consistency, and it's nice to have that in your back pocket. We know we get the ball to the 25. We're in field goal range at that point, so we don't need to do anything stupid. We can still attack, but don't do anything too reckless, knowing you got three points in the back pocket.
And outside of the players you've mentioned so far, are there any other ones that stood out to you?
Oh, I would say with this, our safety play continues to be very high level with Riley and Bobby Young. They're doing a nice job with that. I thought Devin Prude really stepped up his game this past week, not only as a corner, but he's a gunner on our punt team. And then I would also say our punter had continued to be consistent for us. Jaden Cook did a tremendous job, getting great hang time, being able to flip the field a little bit, and he was actually our special teams player of the week for the Gridiron Club. And the final guy would probably be Mike Shimmick. Mike Shimmick has played tremendous defensive end for us throughout the year. Even blocked a PAT this past week as well. So he's stepped into many roles as we continue to increase his roles on the team. He's stepped up to it and performed at a high level.
And it feels like we're always talking about players and people outside of you, Coach. But when you take a look at this coming week, I mean, talk a little bit about your operations this week heading into a Walsh contest.
Well, we're coming back to Jack Miller Stadium. We like to play in front of our home fans, so it's always nice to be at home, sleeping in your own bed, eating your own food. Preparing here. Our guys play inspired here for a reason. So we're focusing on Walsh, but really, once again, we're going to focus on us and continue to correct any mistakes we have, build on the successes we have, and look to get a good victory against Walsh this week.
And when you take a look at this Walsh squad, is there anything specifically play style wise or scheme that you need to be careful of?
Defensively, they play a different scheme. It's a different preparation for us. They play an old 3-4 slant and angle defense, the old Michigan slant and angle, and it is a different scheme that you got to prepare for. And only having a week to do it is a challenge. They've always been a tremendous defensive football team. John Fankhauser, the head coach, was the DC for many years. Mark Johnson's been with him there many, many years. Two guys I have a tremendous amount of respect for. That's always been a hallmark of Walsh football, is the way they play defense. And then they've added Jim Pertile on the offensive side this year, and he's bringing a little bit of the Ferris and Davenport flavor to the offense. So they're running the quarterback a little bit more. And they've stepped up their game. They're 3-2 and playing inspired football at this point.
And when you take a look, lastly, how important is it to be back at home?
It is huge. It is huge for us. Seems like we've been on the road a ton the first 5 games. So to be able to have some home cooking, we'll definitely eat that up.
Well, Coach, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Now it's time to head to another piece of your team, and that's defensive end Michael Shimmick. Shimmick will be joining us to discuss his play this past weekend against Ohio Dominican, what the role of being up against opposing offensive linemen is like, and the upcoming outing against Walsh. You're watching the Doug Geiser Show on AUTV. Welcome back to the Doug Geiser Show. Now I'm joined by defensive end Michael Shimmick. First off, thanks for joining me here today.
Thanks for having me.
Great game this past weekend. So how was the team feeling after the win, and what did you guys discuss in the locker room after the performance?
Oh, yeah, we felt really good. After coming off a really tough loss against Tiffin, we knew our defense especially really had to bounce back and have a good defensive game.
Yeah, and when you take a look at your performance, you were able to get a PAT block. What was that like for you?
It was really fun. We actually had a new call this week where one of our corners, Jovan, he had to talk trash to some of their O-linemen, and so that got their attention, and because of that, I was able to slip through and get the block.
And so you talked about it a little bit there, but what's preparation like in hopes of getting a PAT block?
So yeah, during practice, we have a couple of reps where we're going full go, and actually usually at the end of practice, we have a full go rep going against the first team field goal block or field goal PAT, and all the players are standing around, so it's like a game like situation. And
so obviously it seems like the defensive line for the team is very deep. So who alongside of you has stood out to be kind of like your counterpart?
So the starters, Chris and Deeb, they've been great all season, and then new freshman upcomer Bryson Getz. I've been working a lot with him. And then I think another guy, he doesn't travel, but he works really hard, Russell Twining. I worked out a lot with him over the offseason.
And so it seems like you guys have a great leader on defense in defensive coordinator Tim Rose. How important is he to the defense as a whole?
He's so important. He gets us all fired up before the games, and he keeps it real with us, and I feel like that really makes our defense perform at a high level.
So outside of Tim Rose, have there been any specific players or coaches that have helped lead you to success in your time here at Ashland?
So my defensive end coach, Coach Tabler, he brings the juice every week and really gets us ready for our games. Also, the offensive tackles for our offense, Nick Walker and Ryan Poole, both of them give me a great look during practice. And then also our tight ends, I'd like to say Nabil Abdul-Salam and Jerron Kelly. They both give me really good looks during practice as well.
And then moving forward, how are you and the team feeling going against Walsh?
I haven't really gotten to look at the tape yet, but they look like they're having a really good season so far. But we just gotta watch a lot of film this week and prepare like it's another really big week. So.
Well, thank you so much for joining me, and good luck against Walsh.
Thank you.
When we return, we'll check in with Coach Tom Stacy to discuss the other side of the ball and the role as offensive coordinator and QB coach. You're watching the Doug Geiser Show on AUTV. Welcome back to the Doug Geiser Show. Now I'm joined along Coach Stacy. Coach, thanks for stopping by here today.
Thank you, Kate. Appreciate it.
This past week against Ohio Dominican, the offense looked fairly solid, utilizing both the rushing and passing attack. What was the plan going into the contest?
Well, we'll always try to be balanced, that's for sure, and we we haven't got to that point yet this season. We're leaning a little bit more towards the pass right now, but we're always trying to go into each contest and be as balanced as we can and strive to do that. And we're facing a really good defense. Ohio Dominican is one of the best defenses in the league, and they had a good game plan, and it was a struggle, but we're able to do enough to help win the football game.
And so how do you keep this momentum moving into this contest against Walsh this weekend?
Well, I think the big thing for us offensively, we have to play complementary football. We have to take care of the football, and I hope I don't jinx us, but the last 3 games we've had 1 turnover, so that's a real positive, and we have to continue to do that. We don't want to put our defense and our kicking game in bad situations, so I think that's going to be important going into the Walsh game also.
And running back Larry Martin was able to find the end zone to go alongside 67 yards on the ground. For a struggling running back room to start this season, I mean, how important was that?
Well, it's always important, and you can always count on Larry. He's a big, strong guy that's really hard worker, one of the hardest workers on our team, and he's always going to be productive. And you know, the big thing is we gotta create holes in the defensive line and do a great job of blocking for him, to get him some creases, and he's going to be effective.
And taking a look at the passing game, Baczynski and that wideout room, how are you feeling about them so far at this point in the season?
Well, we're work in progress. You know, I think we continue to get better every week, and we knew that going into the season. We had a lot of inexperience there, and Trevor, coming from the University of Buffalo, had not played a lot of football, and we've got some younger receivers, having lost Logan Bolin and Garrett Turnbow and some of those guys. So we knew it was going to be a work in progress, but we're making strides each week and continue to improve.
And so you've had some standouts and some subtle ones this season with the likes of Jamari Croom and Tony Panunzio. What have their journeys been like for this team to finally get to this point where they're regulars, it seems like, in given contests?
Well, Jamari was more of a basketball player coming out of high school, out of Rossford High School, a suburb of Toledo. And so he's continued to work and get better every week, and he's got a lot of potential. He's a big, tall guy, he can run well, and he's learning to be physical, and he's got a bright future. Tony Panunzio is a walk-on from Canfield High School, and I had the good fortune of recruiting Tony, and was able to come in and earn scholarship this year, and he continues to get better and better. Real physical player, one of the hardest workers on our team, and really has been made a lot of great contributions to our offense.
And so you play a big role with the quarterbacks as well, and a big storyline this offseason was replacing Austin Brenner and finding that next quarterback successor. What was the quarterback battle like in training camp at the start of the fall?
Well, it was pretty intense. We had three gentlemen, Trevor Baczynski and Trent Maddox and Cam Blair, that 2 of the 3, all 3 of them had started at one time or another games for us in the past, and a couple of them had won games for us as starters. So we knew the battle was going to be intense, and all 3 of them really had good camps. But Trevor kind of had the better camp coming out, and thank goodness he's been able to come in and play some pretty solid football for us.
And you mentioned some inconsistencies in trying to find a balance between the running and passing game. What are the keys to success this week against Walsh?
Well, again, it's to find that balance. It's always something we're striving for. We're not going to beat our heads against the wall. If we need to throw it a little bit more than we have maybe in the past, we'll do that. But we're always trying to see how we can run the football, and we think that just makes for better success and that's what we believe in. That's part of our DNA, and always will be here at Ashland University. So trying to continue to hunt for a running game and being successful in that area is going to help us.
Well, Coach, I appreciate it, and good luck this week against Walsh.
Thank you very much.
Now it's time to wrap up the show with Coach Geiser as we take a look at the current season standings and the rest of the schedule. Coach will join us after these brief messages. You're watching the Doug Geiser Show on AUTV. Welcome back to the Doug Geiser Show on AUTV. Coach, it's been great to talk to you and your team here today, but before we go, let's take a look at the current standings and what we can expect in the coming weeks. First off, we're finally 3 games through conference play, and the standings are starting to shift and move around a little bit. For you guys, how important was it to get this win this week?
To stay into it, I don't think there's ever been a team that's gone through the GMAC undefeated and won the year. So I mean, having that 1 defeat, we got to continue to play inspired ball and play from behind, and hopefully somebody knocks off Tiffin and Findlay along the way.
How do you feel about some of the other teams in the conference, specifically a team like Walsh that you take on this coming week?
Walsh has been playing pretty well. They're 3-2. Did a great job in their non-conference schedule, and so they're on the come.
Well, Coach, I greatly appreciate your time here today. And any final thoughts for the audience out there?
Well, hey, we love playing in front of that crowd at Jack Miller Stadium on Martinelli Field, and come on back, support the Eagles, help us get our third win and square our record, continue to improve throughout the year.
Well, Coach, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
That was today's episode of the Doug Geiser Show. With the Eagles taking down the Ohio Dominican Panthers on the road 20-6, they next look to go up against the Walsh Cavaliers this coming weekend with hopes of building a win streak as the middle half of the season approaches. The outing is set for Saturday, October 7th, with kickoff set for 7 p.m. at home at Jack Miller Stadium. Tune into the game on 88.9 WRDL to listen 15 minutes before kickoff for the pregame show, or watch live on the JDM streaming channel with the game brought to you by the students and faculty of the Ashland University Journalism and Digital Media Department. You can also watch repeats of the game on AUTV and the Bally Sports Great Lakes channel. I'm Cade Krakus, and thank you for tuning into the Doug Geiser Show right here on AUTV.